because Kevin sent me a text last night, Larry. He's like, what do you and Larry want to talk about tomorrow morning? And I'm like, well, I got a theory, but it's so abstract. I don't know if you're going to be able to capture it in a thumbnail. But what I kind of want to get into is how the Boston Celtics have delivered a lesson, not for the 49ers, but for 49ers fans. And I hope that they pay attention to this lesson.
Uh-oh, now we're taking a lesson from Celtics fans?
We're taking a lesson from the Boston Celtics to 49ers fans. The Boston Celtics were on the edge of being a champion for a long time. Sound familiar? That's the world that the 49ers have been living in. They've been very well built, very well run, very well coached. They've been an outstanding outfit who are guilty of one thing, not crowning themselves champions. There was all sorts of break up Tatum and Brown, break this team up. They're not going to get it done. I've seen enough. My opinion outweighs the fact that, Jason Tatum can't win playoff games. All right, well, he's won 58 of them before this playoff run even started this year, so he can win playoff games. This sounds an awful lot like the Kyle Shanahan will never win a Super Bowl. He can't win big games. Kyle Shanahan's already won 8 playoff games. That's an awful lot of playoff wins. That's more playoff wins than most coaches will ever have playoff appearances. So the patience that paid off for the Boston Celtics, I think, is waiting there for the 49ers.
So you come today to preach patience.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm here to
be
preach.
Patient, Niner fans. Be patient.
I'm here to preach. Recognize what really good is. The 49ers might have frustrated you, but to evaluate them as anything
that's
really good.
I mean, this is the petulant child, syndrome that has run amok among many fan bases, which is, I want it. And because I want it, it's my birthright and I should have it. And if I, and once again, if you're not, it's like the Will Ferrell from Talladega Nights. If you're not first, you're last. It's like, that's America right now. If you're not first, you're last. I watched the MLB Networks presents retrospective a couple nights ago on the Atlanta Braves. And the Atlanta Braves won 14 division titles. And yet they only really climbed to the top of the mountaintop in 95 against the Indians. Other than that, they never won a World Series, and they were going to be called the Buffalo Bills of MLB. And the Bills, got close, but no cigar. And instead of being like, yeah, that's a great team that just didn't win at all, it's like, they're losers.
Right.
Yeah, Marv Levy's a loser. Cornelius Bennett, you're a loser. It's like, I guess. Hey,
Larry, Willie Mays, 0 World Series, loser.
No, he won a World Series.
When?
54.
Oh, okay, that's right. That's
54. Giants beat the Indians. He caught the ball against Vic Wertz.
That's right. Okay, but only
zero World Series in San Francisco.
Well, that's where I guess where I'm coming. Loser.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people.
Dan Marino,
loser.
It's like
loser.
Charles Barkley, loser.
Wasn't even good. You suck, Chuck.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, and I understand that sometimes to accomplish a goal that's really, really tough, that the participant has to have that kind of attitude, which is nothing except for winning our ultimate goal is acceptable. Anything short of our ultimate goal, we will not celebrate. I understand that from the participants. But when you're an observer and it's entertainment and, there's tremendous entertainment along the way, and the baseball season starts in, March with spring training, does not wrap up till November. Football season starts in July, wraps up in February. There's a lot of joy that goes into covering the 49ers and being a 49er fan in July and August and September and October and November and December and January. And I'm not going to sit there and just be like, it all sucked, because they lose to Hall of Famer Andy Reid, Hall of Famer Patrick Mahomes. It's like, that's what, guys, that's why they have expensive, elaborate parades in the middle of sometimes trying economic times, oftentimes paid for by civic, by cities, by civic leaders who make the decisions. Why do they do that? Because it's rare. It's rare. Hardly ever happens. You're involved in a championship parade. I think we're spoiled a little bit. The Giants give us 3 and 5 years.
If
the Warriors gave us 4, right? 4 titles in how many years?
If where your season ends dictates your fan happiness,
I mean, it's okay, but it's so, just acknowledge that you're going to be miserable 90% of the time. If you are okay walking around being like, hey, man, I'm miserable most of the time, then go for it. Then have that kind of bottom line, cutthroat, win or lose kind of an approach. But the rest, I mean, to me, I don't know that that's I respect it because it's like, it's eyes on the prize. And you know that I'm that kind of a person, but I don't respect it from the standpoint of life is about the journey, not the destination. And these sports seasons are almost like little microcosms of life. And I just think you ought to look at it that way. That's just Larry Krueger giving you his opinion on the 19th of June, 2024. Take with it what you will. If it impacts you, awesome. If you don't, that's so be it. It's not the end of the world. But I just think that we all would be a little bit more balanced in our coverage and our assessments of these teams if we were a little bit more balanced in the way we look at things. But Andy Reid was not a loser in Philly.
At least be consistent. So if your happiness is dependent on where your football team ends up in the final rankings, 49ers fans should be the second happiest fan base in the NFL, right? There's only one fan base who could claim to be any happier, the Kansas City Chiefs. Other than that, the 49ers, we're not celebrating silver medals, but you shouldn't be walking around like you root for a team that is lost in the woods and just makes you miserable. Again, outside of winning a Super Bowl, the last 5 years of 49er football has been spectacular. It's been a really good 5-year run.
I mean, you can go further back. You want to go back to Harbaugh.
The Chiefs, Larry, they have won the second most amount of football games in this league over the last 5 years.
Yeah. The Niners are the Chiefs are the dynasty of this era. The Niners are the second team. Now, many of us saw them be the first team in 81, 84, 88, 89, 94. We saw it 5 times. And so we got a little spoiled along the way. And now we've gone there, watched our team get to the Super Bowl, the ultimate game, 3 times and lose 3 times. And it's painful. And it gives you a lot of the what ifs. And I can understand how Browns fans and some of these other fan bases that have been beaten down through the years feel a little bit. You have a couple that you let get away, and suddenly it's like, But let's just, if you want to say you're frustrated, say you're frustrated. You want to say, hey, I'm not crowning Kyle Shanahan until he climbs to the top of the mountaintop. I think that's fine too. But
there's a big difference between not crowning the guy and demanding for his head fired.
Yeah. The calling for his head crowd, it's like, do you realize how bad? It's kind of like looking at a picture from the 70s of like a bad haircut that you had, and you're like, oh God. Or some terrible style that you were into bell bottoms or whatever the style of the day was.
That collar is the size of a hang glider.
Like that that look didn't age well. Well, if you're in the Shanahan needs to be fired category, that look's not going to age well. I mean, I just look at it this way. Was Andy Reid a bad coach in Philly? No, he was a great coach in Philly. He had a ton of success. He didn't win the ultimate game. After 13 seasons, they said, you know what? Maybe it's not going to happen here. And they moved off. But man, that's a bad decision in hindsight because the guy's won 3 and he may win 4. And, he's proving to be the head coach of his era. And the Eagles have gone from, they won a Super Bowl with Peterson, but now they're on to, tears for fears Sirianni, and who knows what's around the corner. So I don't know. To me, it's like Shanahan is with the Niners what Reed was with the Eagles, except he's 6 years in or 7 years in, not 13 years in. And I'm not saying give him 6 more years, but I'm saying, appreciate what you got. Understand you got one of the NFL's better head coaches, and he needs to grow, and he needs to change, and he needs to hone his craft a little bit tighter, a little bit more to climb to the top of the mountain. It's not like he's without blame. So if you want to hold his feet to the fire, that's one thing, but to jump up and down and be like, he's the emperor has no clothes and Shanahan needs to be fired, and you never have. None of these people ever follow that up with they need to fire Shanahan and hire this guy. And it's always fire Shanahan, and that's it.
Right.
And once again, I'll say this: anybody, I'm not a contractor, but guess what? If you're doing a kitchen remodel and you want me to bring a sledgehammer over to your kitchen, I can sledgehammer out your kitchen. And I'm not a contractor. I just can't build up the kitchen after I sledgehammer out the old one.
Right.
So that's all you're doing with Shanahan. You're taking the sledgehammer to Shanahan, but it takes a lot more skill to then build up that kitchen again. And nobody has any solutions or any answers or even any ideas of who should replace him.
Before you rip out the stove, by the way, you better have your next stove picked out before you start that demolition.
You would think.
You would want to know what the next range, stove, dishwasher, refrigerator, where it's going. You're going to want to consider counter space before you just hit the nuclear option. Right. And yeah.
I'm doing a kitchen remodel. Oh, that's cool. What's the first thing that you did? Did you price cabinets? Did you look at countertops? Did you look at appliances? No, actually, the first thing I did, I told my wife we were going to do it. And then I went in the garage and got a sledgehammer and just bashed everything out. Oh, well, what are you guys doing in the meantime? Oh, I don't know. It's like, idiot. Yeah, you're an idiot.
Ordering a lot of DoorDash and Uber Eats.
Yeah, it's like
your backup plan there.
It's like you went from a guy who's like, hey man, this guy's on top of it, man. He's making things happen. He's changing out his kitchen to what the hell? He just took a sledgehammer to his kitchen and he hasn't even ordered anything, and he's probably going to be sitting there eating on paper plates in the dining room or in the living room for the next 6 months.
Yeah. Look, there is a lesson to be learned, though. When you got really good, and the Niners know that they got really good, you keep it together as long as you can. And really, the Golden State Warriors and the Kansas City Chiefs have a similarity between them, because it feels like both of these franchises, because of their franchise and historically significant players that lead them, jumped to the front of the line of we're competing for a title and got to stay there and win championships ahead of what a normal timeline is. The Warriors cut the line and went right to the championship round, thanks to Curry, and the Kansas City Chiefs have done that too. Normally, to win a championship, championships are like diamonds. It takes pressure and time to build them. And the Boston Celtics were under an awful lot of pressure. And they just invested in more time in a group that they believed in. And it worked. And that is the only bit of advice that I have for 49ers fans. You have.
Stay the course, is what you're saying.
In spite of the completely nonsensical noise that the dumbest content creators have served to you, any evaluation of the 49ers other than this is a well-coached, well-run, well-built, outstanding outfit that is very close to winning a championship is wrong. It's wrong. Because that's who they are.
You're going full Bobby McFerrin this morning.
They are favored to win every fucking game on their schedule this year. How bad are they?
Don't worry, be happy is what you're saying.
How bad are they? They're favored to win every game on the schedule.
Well, it goes beyond that, actually.
What's your problem? No, seriously, what is your problem? Favored to win every game, but you don't like? Well, I'm worried about this guard, and this guard is going to undo everything and all. Maybe. Maybe, but let's let it play out here, right? I mean, they're favored to win every game that they have on their schedule. Tell me more about what they've done wrong, please.